Rex the Rebel here. Today I'm going to be talking about the Twitter debate between Bernie Sanders and presidential candidate Andrew Yang. Now, I know that Bernie Sanders is presidential candidate too, but everybody knows he's presidential candidate. Not everyone knows that Andrew Yang is presidential candidate. The debate that these two are having is between a policy which they believe can make up for job loss due to automation. Now, those two policies are a federal job guarantee and a universal basic income. For those of you who don't know what a federal jobs guarantee is or a universal basic income is, a federal jobs guarantee is when you have the government employ people who need work. Those jobs are typically middle class, middle wage jobs, 40 to 80,000, depending on what it is. So decent paying job, usually. In Bernie's case, he specifically described child care, elderly care, health care, climate research, engineering. Those are some of the fields that people could go into. There was an ant on my shoe. That people can go into if they were to be employed through the federal jobs guarantee program, which I don't really understand, because not everyone would qualify for those jobs and they would have to be educated and trained for those fields. I'm going to get into more of the criticisms of that in a minute, as well as criticisms of UBI, a policy which I very strongly support, by the way, and have for many years. Let's get into what a UBI is. UBI stands for Universal Basic Income. Universal Basic Income basically means that every citizen of the United States gets a set number of money a month. So for Andrew Yang's case, he proposes $1,000 a month. Now, typically, the monthly check that economists propose is between $1,000 to $1,200 a month. How they come up with that number, I don't know. Math, statistics, that's just what they come up with. Also, it's tied to inflation, so it's not like it'd be $1,000 forever. But Andrew Yang's proposal is to have a universal basic income program where everyone has $1,000 a month via a check from the government. Now, this check from the government wouldn't raise taxes on anyone, but it would add taxes to the big technological businesses which are going to be benefiting from these from these machines and from automation. So all of the gains, or a lot of the gains earned from those businesses, would be distributed amongst the people because they're not really employing anyone. So those big businesses, some of the gains will be going down and distributed to the people. So it's basically a technology tax. One of his things that he wants to propose is a VAT tax, a value-added tax, which is what most European countries have to some degree. Many people argue that that's a regressive tax. The problem is most of the things which regular people like you and me will be buying are not going to be part of the VAT tax. So it's not like you're going to go into Walmart and buy an apple, or not an apple as in like computer, but apple the food. If you buy some kind of frozen meal, that's not going to be included. The VAT tax is not going to be on necessities, foods, clothes. It's not that hasn't no. That's not what the VAT tax is going to be placed on. It's mostly going to be placed on technological companies. And a VAT tax is just where it taxes each chain of production. So it starts out in manufacturing, then the person who creates the item from the resources that he got from the owner, and then they sell it. So that's. I'm not explaining it very well. You need a graph. I wish I could edit in a graph and just show you how VAT tax works. Anyway, universal basic income would be funded by this, and also slightly higher taxes on wealthy companies. A Wall Street tax of some kind of like what Bernie proposed. But the money would not be printed. There wouldn't be new money coming into the economy like many people like to suggest. But the universal basic income, the idea behind the universal basic income is that people have unconditional $1,000 a month to use at their discretion, however they wish. They have the freedom to use it and spend it in any way they want. $1,000 a month adds up to $1,200 a year, or $12,000 a year. That's not a lot. You're not going to be over the poverty level by any means. So people who say, "Oh, we're just going to live off it," no, you're not. No one's living off $12,000 a year. It's a supplemental program. UBI is a supplemental program. The idea is that it will replace other programs in time, because people will eventually. It's a buy-in. Yang's proposal is a buy-in. You can either have the universal basic income, or you can have food stamps, or you can have you can stick on this other social welfare program. And then as we start to see what social welfare programs are not as desirable because people just refuse to get them and instead buy in for the universal basic income program, those other social welfare programs will go away. I had a mosquito on my arm. My proposal for universal basic income is a little bit different. Universal basic income is a supplemental program. I have criticisms with Yang's UBI, and I have criticisms with his UBI because his UBI is a buy-in, it's a replacement. I do not believe that we should have unnecessary programs with too many mandatory criteria for people who are on them, and UBI doesn't have those. You just get it as a right of citizenship. Many people have proposed this idea. Henry George is a supporter of this idea. He was a 19th century economist. Thomas Paine, Thomas More, lots of Thomas. Milton Friedman, of course, he proposed a negative income tax, which is similar to a citizen's dividend, as Yang refers to it as, but it's a universal basic income. So there's been a lot of people who have proposed a universal basic income type policy, and they have been for years. But Yang's program falls short because it makes people who have disability or who had disabilities choose between the UBI check or the SSI or SSBI, whichever they get, most likely SSI. I'm on SSI due to me being autistic and having severe anxiety disorder. Having an anxiety disorder is actually one of the reasons why it's so difficult for me to record alongside me living in my car. And I love to edit videos, and I can't do that on here. But I'm doing it anyway because I'm tired of waiting. I'm not putting it off anymore. But I should not, as someone who is mentally disabled and cannot work a traditional job, who has tried and has failed multiple times, I should not have to choose between the $1,000 a month check and the $750 I get a month from SSI. Now I know that would be an extra $250 in my wallet, but why should I have to choose? UBI is a supplemental program. It is supposed to be for people who work, and then that's that extra $1,000 a month to go with their paycheck that they earn from a regular paying job. I can't do that, and neither can a lot of people. So to me, why should I have to choose between the two? Why can't I get both? Why can't I get SSI and also the UBI check? I think I should. That would be $1,700 a month. It's still not much, but it would be better. And I am not a traditional person. The mosquito's back. I'm not the traditional person who can just work a regular job. There are plenty of people who cannot, whether it is traumatized veterans who are likely to be homeless who need $1,000 a month, or whether it's YouTubers who need to make some form of consistent money without having to rely on Patreon because they're always demonetized. Well, what would happen is UBI would greatly fix that. It wouldn't be the cure. We still need to get rid of the ridiculous policies that YouTube has enforced that to make people demonetized all the time. But it is a step in the right direction. It would ease it. I don't understand Bernie's issue with UBI. I know his criticism is that these are well-paying jobs. This is better than UBI because apparently it solves the issue, which I don't agree with. But it gets people working. People want to be productive. People want to work. Yes, Bernie, that is true. People want to work. They want to contribute. Obviously, not everyone. Some people would rather just sit at home and watch YouTube videos. But eventually it's boring. They're going to want to do something, whether it's part-time or not. UBI gives them the freedom to do that. They can save up some during the month, or they can they can either spend 800, save 200, or they can save 800 and spend 200 of it, and then the rest of whatever they make for their job. With Bernie's issue and my issue within Bernie's issue is the idea that people who are on UBI don't want to be productive, have no plans to be productive, that it won't raise them out of an impoverished situation that prevents them from being as productive as they wish to be. I know if I had an extra $1,000 a month, I would be doing a lot to try to make sure that I was able to actually do what I want to do. And what do I want to do? I want to make YouTube videos. I want to stream. I want to be able to cook things. I went to culinary arts. That's what I went to school for. I want to have a kitchen where I can cook, and then I can hopefully sell the products that I make to people in the community. I've always wanted to do that. Nothing fancy, no big restaurant just yet. I want to be able to do something. I want to be able to give people a chance to taste what I make. For those of you interested, I make wraps, sandwiches, burritos, stuff like that. Anything that's got to do with something being placed in a tortilla or bread. It's what I'm good at. But I know if I had $1,000 a month, that would greatly help me. Now also, having $1,000 a month would incentivize people who know each other to work together, to collaborate, and chip in their UBI checks or part of the UBI checks together to open up a business that they can all work towards. And that would incentivize worker cooperatives. People who would all chip in, have a say, have a stake in the company. It wouldn't just be run by one or two dudes. Everyone who pitched in would have a democratic vote. It would be the democratization of the workplace, which is what Bernie's supposed to want. He's a democratic socialist. I'll get into that conversation in a whole other video about whether he's a democratic socialist or a social democrat or not. But to me, self-management, worker cooperatives, those things, worker-owned businesses, that's what I want. I don't want people to be employed by the government. I mean, obviously we need people to be employed by the government, but I don't want a bunch of people to be forced to be employed by the government if there's no other jobs optional, if there are no other jobs available. Not everyone wants to work for the government, which is what Andrew Yang accurately pointed out. He said, Bernie, not everyone wants to work for the government. I don't want everyone to work for the government. I want people to work for themselves. I want people to work with others, which they freely associate with and choose to collaborate with in order to produce for the local community. And then what they produce for the local community, of course, people will consume, which will be good for that community because then production and consumption will be provided. It'll get people off the streets. Giving people free health care is not going to get people off the streets, Bernie. It's not. A federal jobs guarantee doesn't work for everyone because not everyone can work those jobs, which are high-stress jobs, full-time jobs, and they're for the state. Not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone is good at that. Not everyone can do that. Some people need special accommodations for them because they're disabled. So they need to have their own schedule, whether it is creating little knickknacks or something, whether it is writing, whether it's inventing some little tool. Autistic people are very intelligent. They can do small, interesting things that most people wouldn't imagine being a traditional job or a full-time position. But it is creative, and it is something which some people will enjoy. I know that one of my friends sells neck chains and necklaces and bracelets, and he makes them, and he spends a lot of time doing them. And his girlfriend, who's also autistic, she helps him, but she sews and knits, and she does scarves, and she does socks. She makes socks. I don't have any because I don't want to wear her socks. I'm sorry. Sorry, Lacey. I don't want to do it. They seem kind of itchy, to be honest, but I think that's just because I have sensitive skin. Anyway, gone off a tangent, man. UBI is not to be. UBI nor federal jobs guarantee are mutually exclusive. I don't know why we can't have both. I don't know why we can't have both a federal jobs guarantee and a universal basic income. But the issue is, I'd rather have a UBI than a federal jobs guarantee. That basic income check goes to everyone. Everyone over the age of 18, everyone. And they can spend it in any way they wish. So that means if they don't want to work for the government, they don't have to. They can try to focus on something else. They can try to spend their extra time and money that they now have with that on something which they feel is more meaningful and important to them. And that's the point. Just like Bernie said, we want to feel like we are productive. We want to feel like we're contributing. We want to feel like we have meaning in our lives. UBI gives us meaning. UBI helps us pay off. It gets a load off. Not everyone can work those jobs, and everybody wants to work those jobs. That is not to say that they can't and that shouldn't be an option. A federal jobs guarantee should be an option, but UBI should be the priority. Worker cooperative should be the priority. If we want to democratize the workplace, that is a priority. People can chip in using that UBI and hopefully make the communities safer, better, more stable. The communities will be more open and people will be more friendly towards another because they won't be as focused on their well-being. Instead, they'll be focused on their self-actualization instead of just surviving. We need to invest in community resources too as well. That's another thing, which I think everyone can agree on, especially on the Democratic side. People on the progressive Democratic side, for the most part. Kamala Harris is just kind of focused on helping black people and their issues. And while I get that, and while I understand that that is an issue, man, so loud. And while I understand that there is increased poverty and statistically more poverty within the black community than other communities, she seems to ignore that other people have problems too, as do a lot of them. Like Julian Castro, he seems to forget that immigrants, illegal immigrants, they're not priority, but he treats them like such. I'm priority. The people who are working 60 hours a week but still can't barely afford their apartment, they're the priority. People who are working 2 jobs and they have 1 kid and they still can't barely afford to feed the kid, they're priority. And I'll get into that video more on another day. But that is the UBI versus federal jobs guarantee argument. I've made my points. There's probably more that I forgot. But that's just the mini Twitter feud between Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders on what they propose should be the answer to automation and job loss from that. Again, you can have both, but UBI is superior. It's more inclusive. It goes to everyone. Black people get it. Rich people get it. Poor people get it. White people get it. Rednecks get it. Metalheads get it. Gangsters get it. Everybody. Everybody. As for people wondering, do rich people get it? Yes, rich people get it. But rich people will be paying more in taxes than they will be receiving in universal basic income. So ultimately, it won't matter anyway. It'll be a net negative gain. So don't worry about rich people getting UBI because they won't see it anyway. They'll be paying more in taxes than they receive in UBI. But by the way, this is a window. That's not behind me. This is a window. The road is that way. So it's a pretty cool backdrop, though. I kind of like it. It's kind of like a green screen. It's my own homeless DIY green screen. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, man. I'm supposed to be talking about politics. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share. I'm trying to make this my whole career, man. This is what I want to do. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to give my takes. I know a lot of people want to give their takes and they want to give their opinions, but I got a lot of them, and I believe I got good ones. And if you do too, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Peace out.